The regular broadcast of the Minneapolis Business Inspections, Housing and Zoning Committee for March 1st, 2022 will now begin.
Thank you. Welcome to the regular meeting of the Business Inspections, Housing and Zoning Committee for today, which is March 1st. I'm Lisa Goodman, and I am the chair of the committee. As we begin, I'll note for the record that this meeting has remote participation from members of the City Council and city staff as authorized under Minnesota statute section 13D.021 as a result of the declared local public health emergency. The city will be recording and posting the meeting to the city's website and YouTube channel as a means of increasing public access and transparency. This meeting is public and subject to the open meeting law. At this time, I will ask the clerk to call the roll so we can verify a quorum for this meeting.
Councilmember Rainville.
Present.
Councilmember Ellison. Councilmember Chavez.
Present.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Present.
Councilmember Osman.
Here.
Chair Goodman.
Present.
There are 5 members present.
Let the record reflect that we have a quorum. The agenda for today's meeting is in front of us. I'll begin with the consent agenda, which includes items 4 through 13. Item number 4 are liquor license approvals and 5 are the renewals. Item 6 are the gambling applications for March 1st. Item 7 is an appointment to the Heritage Preservation Commission of Kelly Maston in Ward 2 for a 3-year term. Item 8 is a rezoning for a property at 3122 to 3128 Minnehaha Avenue. Item number 9 is setting a public hearing for a land sale, as is item 10 is an affordable housing project bond issuance. We'll be setting a public hearing. Item 11 is setting public hearing for a land sale, as is 12 and 13. Are there any discussion items or anything anyone would like to pull for discussion that's currently on the consent agenda? Or are there any items anyone would like to have questions about? Seeing none, I'll move the consent agenda items 4 through 13 and ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison. Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Aye.
Vice Chair Osman.
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes.
That carries and the consent agenda is approved. With that, we'll move on to the public hearing agenda, starting with item number 1. This is a land sale at 1910 25th Avenue North to the Minneapolis Public Housing Authority. I'd ask Mr. Ramadan to please give that report.
Good afternoon, Chair Goodman and members of the committee. My name is Matthew Ramadan. I'm a senior project coordinator in the Residential Real Estate Development Work Unit, commonly known as Single Family, here for the land sale of 1910 25th Avenue North. The sale is through the city's real estate disposition policy established by the City Council on April 16, 2004. Staff recommends the sale of 1910 25th Avenue North to Community Housing Resources, also known as Minneapolis Public Housing Authority, or MPHA, for its appraised value of $6,300 subject to conditions. On April 17, 2015, the city acquired this vacant parcel from Hennepin County tax treated land. Staff has continuously marketed this property on the program website since its acquisition to a listserv of now over 4,000 people. This is the only application received. At 1910 25th Avenue North, the purchaser proposes to build a 2-story structure consisting of 4 affordable housing units available to households at or below 30% area median income. 1 unit would be 2 bedrooms and 3 units would be 3 bedrooms. The lot size is approximately 46 feet by 125 feet, and that's approximately 5,625 square feet. The purchaser is targeting a mid-July 2022 closing with construction to start shortly thereafter. CPET's construction management team reviewed the plans and estimates submitted by the applicants and confirmed they are sufficient to meet the minimum new construction standards of the program, or the real estate disposition policy. Notification was provided to the Joy Area Community Council on November 18, 2021. The neighborhood board also recommends approval of this project. Juan Torres and Brian Schaefer, representing MPHA, have signed up for the public hearing today. Are there any questions for me?
Thank you, Mr. Ramadan, for your report. I'd ask that you turn on your camera when giving a presentation so the public has the opportunity.
I apologize. I thought I had.
That's okay. Just wanted to remind you of that, sir. And then I also want to note that Councilmember Ellison is here and I know is very excited about these two items. So we'll first see if there are any questions for Mr. Ramadan. Seeing none, I am going to proceed to open the public hearing. I understand there are two speakers here, Mr. Torres and Mr. Schaefer. I will call on them in that order. Please feel free, Mr. Torres and then Mr. Schaefer, to press *6 to unmute if you'd like to speak at this time.
Hello, Chair.
Hello, this
Brian
is
Schaefer. I'll be speaking. Oh, go ahead, Juan.
Oh, no, go ahead, Brian.
Chair Goodman, this is Brian Schaefer speaking on behalf of both Brian and Juan. We both signed up just in case there were questions that needed to be answered. I'm Brian Schaefer. I'm the MPHA's Assistant Director of Planning and Development. And I'm happy to be before you today. As Matthew mentioned, this is a land sale as part of a 16-site, 84-unit, deeply affordable housing scattered site project that MPHA is pursuing. And this has been before the committee. This project's been before the committee several times in various states. First for rezonings of 8 of the 16 sites back in December, and then a rezoning of 6 more sites in January, and followed by a rezoning of these 2 subject sites in February. So we've been going through quite a process. You've also seen this come through as part of the Affordable Housing Trust Fund Awards back in January. So I'm going to keep my remarks short. I know Matthew already covered most of the project, but this is, again, we're intending to combine this site at 1910 25th with our MPHA controlled site at 1906 25th Avenue to create a parcel that we can build a 4-unit building on. This will be 1 2-bedroom unit, 3 3-bedroom units. These will all utilize project-based vouchers and all be affordable at 30% or below AMI. And all the tenants will pay 30% of their income. And as Matthew mentioned, our construction time will be starting in June or starting this summer, and will commence or will be completed in the following summer. And I'm happy to answer questions and go forward from there.
Thank you so much for your testimony, Mr. Schaefer. I'll just see if Mr. Torres has anything he'd like to add.
Nothing to add. Thank you.
Thank you for being here today, Mr. Torres. Seeing no further speakers, I will close the public hearing and call on Councilmember Ellison, whose motion will also reflect that he's in attendance today.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I'm happy to move approval of this item.
On Councilmember Ellison's motion to approve, are there any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville,
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison,
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez,
Aye.
Councilmember Chugtai,
Aye.
Vice Chair Osman,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That motion carries and is approved. We'll now move on to item number 2, which is also a land sale at 2807 2811 Emerson Avenue North, and I will call on Mr. Ramadan. Good to see you, sir.
Oh, good to see you again, Chair Goodman. So this is 2807 2811 Emerson Avenue North. The sale, again, through the city's real estate disposition policy, which was established for the council on April 16, 2004. The staff recommends the sale of 2807 2811 Emerson Avenue North to Community Housing Services, also known as Minneapolis Public Housing Authority, for its appraised value of $12,400, subject to conditions. On April 27, 2009, the city acquired the vacant parcel at 2807 Emerson Avenue North from Bank of America. On August 31st, 2010, the city acquired 2811 Emerson from Bank of America Corporation Home Loan Servicing LP under the Neighborhood Stabilization Program, or also known as NSP, land banking activity. The city subsequently demolished the dilapidated structure on that site, resulting parcel is in the city's property inventory for housing development. In the NSP housing development, all land sale proceeds equal to the fair market value will be returned to the NSP program to cover ongoing program costs. Staff has continuously marketed this property on the program website since its acquisition, as again to a listserv of now over 4,000 people. And this again is the only application received. With the combined lots of 2807, 2811 Emerson Avenue North, the purchaser proposes to build a 3-story structure consisting of 6 affordable housing units available to households at or below 30% AMI. 2 units will be 2 bedrooms and 4 units will be 3 bedrooms. The lot size is approximately 10,926 square feet. Again, the purchaser is targeting a midsummer or possibly June, July closing, with construction start shortly thereafter. And again, CPID's construction management staff has reviewed the plans and estimates submitted and confirmed they are sufficient to meet the minimum construction standards for the city. Notification was again provided to the Jordan Community Council on November 18, 2021, and the neighborhood board recommends approval. Again, Mr. Torres and Mr. Schaefer are here representing MPHA today. Are there any questions for me?
Are there any questions for Mr. Ramadan on his report? Seeing none, I'm going to proceed to open the public hearing. I understand that Mr. Schaefer and Mr. Torres are still on the line. I'll call on them to see if they have anything they'd like to add.
Chair Goodman, council members, nothing new to add. Thank you for your time.
Thank you both for being here. Given that there are no further speakers on this item, I'm going to close the public hearing and call on Councilmember Ellison.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Again, happy to move approval of these items.
Approval has been moved by Councilmember Ellison. Are there any further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Ellison, Councilmember Rainville,
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison,
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez,
Aye.
Councilmember Chugtai,
Aye.
Vice Chair Osman,
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That carries and the motion is approved. The next item on our agenda is a quasi-judicial hearing for which this committee is limited by law to hearing arguments and statements from the parties to the matters consisting of city staff, appellants and applicants, and members of the public that wish to address the committee regarding these matters. The committee has been provided with the record of the matters, including the reports, statements, attachments, and decisions. This committee is prohibited from considering any matters outside of the record or any ex parte communications and must base its decisions upon the official record and the arguments and presentations made at today's public hearing. This is a rental license revocation for 2527 10th Avenue South and the owner Walter Bratton. I will ask Mr. Magrino to please give a presentation and report. Welcome, Mr. Magrino.
Thank you, Chair Goodman and committee members. I'm Nick Magrino, Legal Coordinator in Regulatory Services. I'm presenting our first rental license revocation in a couple years. The property involved is 2527 10th Avenue South, a 5-unit rental property operated by Walter Bratton and owned by Mr. Bratton. He applied for a license to operate the property in July 1997. It's currently classified as a Tier 3 rental property, the highest tier, indicating that a high amount of city services are used and that there's a high likelihood that the issues at the property could impact renter health and safety. In December 2019, an emergency repair order was issued regarding the heating facilities at the property. The order gave Mr. Bratton 3 days to make repairs to maintain the required 68 degrees. The order wasn't complied with, and the matter was brought before the City of Minneapolis's Emergency Housing Repair Board, and the board authorized the city to make the necessary repairs to the heating system and recover the costs of those repairs through a special assessment. As of last month, the assessed costs, which are in excess of $41,000, remain unpaid. There are also several smaller unpaid assessments for nuisance abatement, reinspection fee, and an administrative citation that amount for several hundred more dollars that are also outstanding. In addition to the unpaid assessments, criminal activity has also been an issue with the property. There have been 86 calls for police service since 2015, and last year the property was the subject of 2 high-risk warrants for drug activity. There have been numerous complaints regarding criminal activity, and Mr. Bratton hasn't responded to attempts by the crime prevention specialist to address that criminal activity. In September of 2021, a director's notice of determination of noncompliance was sent to Mr. Bratton at the listed address of 2527 10th Avenue South. That notice noted violations of 3 different rental licensing standards, and that referred to the delinquent taxes, the persistent criminal activity, and also unpaid rental licensing fees. Mr. Bratton was given 10 days to bring that property into compliance, and he failed to do so. And on November 10th, we issued a notice of revocation for the rental license. That was sent by certified mail and was returned by the post office, but inspectors did also placard the building to give notice of the revocation action. Both the notice and the placard established that there was a 15-day deadline to file an appeal of that revocation, and Mr. Bratton didn't file the appeal. He did pay the outstanding rental license fees on November 19th, but he's still in violation of the other 2 licensing standards. The rental housing liaison and regulatory services has been involved with the property and its residents, and at this time we believe that it's currently vacant. The city is requesting denial of the license, or revocation of the license, excuse me, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Are there any questions from the committee for Mr. Magrino? Please, if you have them, type your name into the chat. Seeing none, I'm going to proceed to open the public hearing. With this type of hearing, we give the appellant an opportunity to make their case first. Is Mr. Bratton or his representative on the call? If you are, sir, I'd ask you to press *6 to unmute, and we will give you 10 minutes. Please, you're welcome to speak now, Mr. Bratton. I'll ask the clerk if Mr. Bratton, he's typed into the queue as being on the call. Do we see a phone number for Mr. Bratton on the call?
Chair Goodman, I am not seeing a phone number for Mr. Bratton on the call.
Okay, I'll ask the clerk, how did his name get into the public hearing queue number 3 then?
He signed up for the public hearing.
Okay, he signed up for the public hearing. We'll give him another opportunity to speak at this time. Mr. Bratton, if you are on the call, please press *6 to unmute, sir. Final call to Mr. Bratton if he would like to speak at this time. It doesn't seem as though Mr. Bratton is available to speak at this time as directed by staff. Given that there are no additional speakers, I will close the public hearing. I'll see if there is any members of the committee who would like to make a motion or speak to this issue. Please type your name into the chat. If not, I'm going to move to revoke the license and support the staff recommendation. Further comments or questions? Seeing none, I'd ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Aye.
Vice Chair Osman.
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That motion passes, and I'd like to thank Mr. Magrino and everyone on your team for the work you've put into this item in front of us. Thank you for being here today. With that, then, we'll move on to our discussion items. We have 2 discussion items today, starting with item number 14, which is a presentation from staff with regard to the Great Streets 2022 Business District Support Grant Agreements. And I will turn this over to Ms. Moses, who I understand is giving this report.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair and committee members. I'm Judy Moses with the CPED Business Development. I'm here before you this afternoon with the 2022 Great Streets Business District Support Grant Agreement recommendations. The Business District Support Grants are one part of the city's Great Streets program. The program provides funding tools for commercial district revitalization. The city partners with community organizations to implement the program across the city. Great Streets resources are limited to the geographic areas in the city that are guided for commercial uses in the city's comprehensive plan. This is the 14th year of awarding business district support grants, which specifically fund activities such as district-wide branding and marketing campaigns, business education, business recruitment, and community events. In November of 2021, CPED issued a notice of funding availability and received 18 proposals in response. The proposals were reviewed and evaluated by a team comprised of representatives from CPED Business Development, the Small Business Team, Hennepin County, LISC, and Meet Minneapolis. The review committee and staff formulated recommendations based on the highest scoring proposals and the most impactful strategies. As a result, staff recommends partially funding 16 proposals for a total of $464,600 and not funding 2 proposals. Contained within the recommendations are a variety of initiatives. All of the activities share the foundational goal to support commercial vitality, strengthen small businesses, and overall district success. At this time, I'd be happy to take any questions.
Are there any questions for Ms. Moses on her report on item number 14? It does not seem as though there are any questions. The report was quite thorough, and I appreciated the summary of all of the various grants and what we were able to fund in this round. If there are no questions, I'm going to move approval of item number 14. Further questions or comments? Seeing none, I'll ask the clerk to call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville. Councilmember Rainville. Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Aye.
Vice Chair Osman.
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 5 ayes.
That carries and the motion is approved. Thank you, Ms. Moses, for being here and for all your work reviewing these applications. We'll move on to item number 15, which is also a discussion item. This is accepting a variety of grants from the Met Council and Hennepin County. I am happy to call on Mr. Carroll, who has had this body of work for a very long time and done it extremely well. We are very lucky to have him here to do this presentation today. Thank you, Mr. Carroll, for being here.
Thank you for that introduction. I am Kevin Carroll. I'm in the business development section of CPED. I have had the pleasure for the last 15 years of coordinating the application and award phases of the city's brownfield grant program. I know we have some council members who may not have had much exposure to brownfield grants in the past. Brownfield is basically a term of art that refers to a building or a site that is either known to be contaminated or suspected of being contaminated. Brownfield is used to sort of distinguish those situations from greenfield development. If you're in a suburban location and you're putting a business park in a cornfield that may have been a prairie before it was a cornfield, that's literally greenfield development. But in urban environments like Minneapolis and St. Paul, a lot of the new development is in areas that were previously heavy in industry or commercial uses like gas stations and dry cleaners. So there's often contamination to be addressed. We're fortunate in our area to have access to 3 different grantors who provide funding to investigate or clean up brownfield sites. Those grantors are the state of Minnesota through DEED, its Department of Employment and Economic Development. The Met Council has a couple of brownfield grant programs. There's the usual alphabet soup here. One of their programs is called TBRA for Tax-Based Revitalization Account. Another one is called SEED, S-E-E-D, which stands for Seeding Equitable Economic Development. Hennepin County has a program called the ERF program. That's their environmental response fund. So these 3 grantors many years ago were smart enough to coordinate their application schedules. So they have 2 rounds per year that involve all 3 of those grantors. Applications are typically due on May 1 and November 1 of every year, so they're at 6-month intervals. All these grantors require that a city council resolution of support be adopted before the grant applications can be submitted. So you'll have the pleasure of seeing me or reading my reports 4 to 6 times a year. For every round, I have to write 2 reports. One is for getting your permission to submit the applications, and then there's a later report that seeks your permission to accept the awarded grants. And that's what's on the agenda today. You have a number of grants here that were awarded in last November's round. The applications went in on November 1. The grantors made their award decisions between late December and early February. So we have basically 12 grants here, 7 from the Met Council and 5 from Hennepin County. in the total of amount of a little under $3 million. So our total for the year is going to be about 6.5 million. We've been averaging anywhere from 5 to 12 million per year for the last 15 years or so. Projects can apply to more than one grantor in the same round. So those 12 awards represent 9 different projects. We have a very interesting mix in this round. We have 2 small commercial projects on Lake Street that have gotten grants to do some investigation for future development. We have 1 large commercial property, the Hotel Indigo project. It's a reimagining of an existing downtown hotel. We have 4 affordable housing projects that are all adaptive reuses. And we have 2 programs that provide funding for lead and asbestos remediation and for small grants to nonprofits and other governmental entities. So if you see fit, we would appreciate you accepting those grant awards so we can start getting the money in the hands of those developers.
Thank you, Mr. Carroll, for your report. I love the summary of the fact that these are very diverse kinds of projects across the city. We'll see if there are any questions for Mr. Carroll on his report. Then if not, I am going to move approval of the staff recommendation. I do want to note there is one particularly important project in my ward that is on this list, and I just want to call out the project and point out that this is the St. Olaf Exodus Housing Project, a monumental effort to reinvest in the historic St. Exodus building and build on the parking lot currently owned by St. Olaf, a deeply affordable housing project that if they receive the massive amount of funding they're seeking over a multi-year period will bring hundreds and hundreds of units of affordable housing to downtown. And I'm very happy about that. And I'm sure there are many projects on this list that council members are proud of as projects in their ward or in the city. We'll see if there's anyone else who would like to comment. If not, on the motion to approve, I'll ask the clerk to please call the roll.
Councilmember Rainville.
Aye.
Councilmember Ellison.
Aye.
Councilmember Chavez.
Aye.
Councilmember Chugtai.
Aye.
Vice Chair Osman.
Aye.
Chair Goodman.
Aye.
There are 6 ayes.
That carries and the motion is approved. I want to thank Mr. Carroll for your ongoing work on this very complicated and multifaceted grant approval and grant process. Seeing no further business before us and without objection, I will declare this meeting adjourned. Thank you all for being here today.